So today is our first Coco event centered around mommies, Black Mothers Matter. And we really wanted to do this event because of everything that's going on and just wanting to create a space to bring some of our Coco family together to talk about how the times are impacting moms, how moms can really navigate taking care of themselves, provide resources for other women, have some dialogue about how you're feeling, how you've been navigating things between COVID, quarantining, and definitely all the social unrest and racial tension that's been going on because of the continued you know uh, targeting of Black bodies. Really just think it's important for moms to be able to have a space to get resources, talk about what's going on. So let me start off with introductions. My name is Tiffany Wright, and I am 1/3 of the founding team of Coco Coalition. Coco Coalition is a social enterprise that was started in 2018 by myself and two other sister friends to provide a space or curate events that provide healing opportunities for Black women around the world. And part of what we do is our annual Black and Beautiful Women's Brunch, which is something that we established in 2015. But aside from that, we have been curating smaller events. We've done conferences and, especially during this time, offering virtual opportunities for Black women to gather and talk about different things that impact them. We know how much Black women are used and dependent upon and look to for healing and guidance and support. And we don't always have the support that we need to just be ourselves, release what we need to, and just connect in the way that we need to connect. So Coco Coalition seeks to be an organization that provides opportunity for that, and we also are very passionate about creating opportunities for young Black girls. And so over the last couple years, we've had some projects that have particularly targeted young girls by gathering toiletries, specifically sanitary napkins and pads for girls in South Africa and Ghana, and in organizations throughout the US for transient youth as well. So we're super excited just to continue growing and doing what's important to us. So enough about me. Enough about Coco. I'm so excited today. If you've ever been to any of our events, you know that in live events, we typically have guest facilitators. And as we've been pivoting with the work on doing online stuff during this time, we said, we want to continue doing that. So this is actually our first time doing like a panel-esque something. So I'm super excited. Allows us to step back and allows people from the community to give value and show what they're all about. So I want to do a little brief introduction, but I want to allow each of the panelists that we have today to really share with you who they are. Okay, so first up, we have Marley. A mystic, as she is known, and she is a mother. She is a doula. She is a wellness practitioner based in Bay Area, California. She is a walking protest for Black people, for Black bodies, for Black women, and she is completely just so passionate about offering, how would I say, the essence of what it means to be Black to help people connect to that. So she is a sound healer. She is administered through the Coltrane Church of Coltrane, right? And she is very passionate about using music and sound to help us heal and connect to ourselves, which I always think is just so, so beautiful. So I want to give her opportunity to share anything else that she would like to share with the people.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and just for your spirit in this work, and for creating this platform for us to come together. You pretty much said it all. I am a mother of a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old now, and I've been through the journey of homeschooling and public schools and private school and all these different facets of being a mother. And I'm really excited now to be focusing a lot of my work on birth. And I feel like that's a place where we can find a lot of justice and be able to start us off on the right path, in the right direction. So I'm very excited to be here to speak about the mothers and the journey that we're on as we continue to grow in our mothering, in our lives as women, as people, whoever we become and whatever we desire to be as visionaries. And I'm really just juiced to walk in my authentic self. You know what I mean? And to just be like, this is who I was made to be. I was raised in a Coltrane church. We've been using sound and believing that the Black man and Black woman was God for a very long time, and that we have the power to manifest that divinity within us. And when I go to a birth, I see someone in their most divine space, creating and giving forth life, and that, and just that energy continues on in the work that I do and in the way that I engage with my people, because I want us to have an understanding that it's all right to be just the way you were created, and to grow and evolve into that greater being and that higher self. So don't get me to preaching. I'm excited to be here. And I'm very excited to meet these other powerful spirits here on the line, and hear and see what you do, because I am always learning. I believe in lifelong learning, and I'm really excited to see what can be offered from these other beings here who are coming forth with such divine spirit that I can just feel through the camera. And I wish we were in person to just vibe on each other, but I know that, you know, we're gonna use this technology to make it do what it do. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And next we have Hijira, also known as Coach HJ, good friend of mine and my personal trainer. She is a certified personal trainer, and she is passionate about fitness. She's passionate about self-help, growth, transformation, and really passionate about not only family, but like the Black family. Her and her husband are both, I guess you would say, influencers, right? In the social media world. And they both are so lovingly transparent about their roles as individuals, as spouses, and as parents in a blended family. And so she is the mother of 6, ranging from, I want to say, what, 24 to 2?
Yeah.
Yep, 22 boys and girls. And so she definitely has a wide range of experience when it comes to mothering during this time. And definitely because she is in the health and wellness industry, looking forward to her sharing anything. And she's based in Southern California. HJ, is there anything that you would like to add?
Well, man, after you said all that, I don't even know what else to say. You summed it up so nicely. Thank you, Tiffany. You know, you've been an amazing addition to my circle, and you're definitely one of the things that I will say contributes to my mental health, and your positivity and your reminders of being grateful and putting gratitude into the universe, which has been part of the reason why quarantine has been so good to my family. Like being grateful and for the little things that we're blessed to have on a daily basis. I'm sorry for the background noise. I've got like planes with banners and stuff behind me, but But yes, you pretty much summed it up. That is us. We recently got married right before quarantine, literally the day before quarantine started. So quarantine has been our honeymoon. It has almost been the end of our marriage. It has been homeschool, and it's been juggling between co-parenting, and I've got my oldest daughter is back home. She was supposed to ship out for the Air Force right before quarantine started, and so this has been quite the journey for us as a family. And I'm grateful to have events like this that brings women, especially Black women, together to know that we're not alone in a lot of the journeys that we go through. It's part of the reason why my husband and I are so transparent on social media. We use our platforms to let people know that we're not alone in a lot of the struggles that we all go through every single day. And so I appreciate being here and be able to share a small piece of me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And last up, we have Milan, which is an amazing, also holistic healer. She's based in the Bay. She's a doula. She's a Reiki master. She's a yogi instructor. She's been trained in yoga in India. She is very passionate, not just about supporting women in their prenatal and postnatal journey, but just also helping women connect to their bodies in general. She is a loving supporter of Coco, and so when we were doing this, I was like, oh wow, we definitely want to have someone in addition to Marley, who also is a doula as well. So Milan, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything that you would like to add and speak on about yourself?
Well, I am based in LA.
Oh, you're based in LA. Yeah. Okay, my bad.
It's okay. I'm based in LA, but I travel. I coined the term the traveling doula because I've ended up I've done births in Virginia, North Carolina. My last birth was in Virginia, actually, but yeah, I'm all over.
Okay.
And thank you for the introduction. Y'all ladies are dope. I'm just listening to you ladies, and I'm like, yes, thank you. I'm loving being on this panel with you guys. And yeah, I'm all about, honestly, the way that I grew up. I was taught spirituality. I was taught about the Black community, and there was nobody but a Black Jesus, that I knew. My grandfather created the first church, the Shrine of the Black Madonna in Detroit. So yes, I come from a family of Black militant leaders. We've tried to make it a little softer. We're like, all right, no hate, let's make it more love, so what I'm excited about is this platform, and my goal is to really just bring things back to basics, like the tradition, traditional African way of birthing or way of being, because with that you used to get a lot of love and support, and it's not, you don't need all the extra can I say shit? You don't need all the extra shit that comes with, what people are throwing at you, especially doctors and such. So I'm just all about bringing it back to the basics, traditional. I am extremely passionate about mothers and women, period, our womb space, connecting to our womb space. I do a lot of womb work, do a lot of herbal work with wombs. And again, I work with crystals, energy work. I'm just a light worker. Light work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So something that we're used to doing in our physical space, which we still like to try to do in our digital space, we love for folks to take a moment before we get into the program and think about an intention that they have for the experience. Okay, so an intention is not the same thing as an expectation. Expectation is very specific, outcome driven. Intention is more open to receiving or experience something. And so I just want to take a moment, take a couple of deep breaths, and want you to think about what your intention for the space is, whether you're receiving something or giving. we know that setting intention is so powerful because it keeps your mind and your spirit open to whatever is going to flow in there. Okay. So I just want to share with you, my intention is to just be a vessel for these powerful women to share with you whatever is resonating on their spirit, because they're all very, very, very powerful in their own ways. And when we reach out to people to collaborate with us, it's not just for space fillers. It's because we feel the beauty, the love, the light, the joy, the authenticity of the folk. And so I have goosebumps right now. And I'm just really grateful that y'all are taking your time and space on a Saturday. And so I just want to set an intention to just be a vessel. And we have questions, but you know, when spirit works. So other things just might come up. Okay. So I just want us to all take a deep breath in together and exhale. Okay. And just a couple of things. So we have this chat box. Please, please, please use the chat box. If it's like a, hey girl, yeah, oh yeah, you did that, whatever, like feel free to drop anything. We still want this to be interactive. Like I said, we're going to ask questions to the panelists and they're going to share, but we're definitely going to have time for Q&A. And if you do have questions, we want you to use the raise hand function, and I will be kind of like putting you on the spot if you want to, and you'll come up as on the camera to be able to ask the panelists any questions. Or if you just want to drop in the Q&A and ask questions, you can do that as well. Okay, so so we're ready to get started. All right, so let's start with Milan. What are some of the major emotional and mental challenges that you feel Black women as mothers are facing right now? Like, what are things that have come up for you in your work with your clients, and you know, just anything around that? How have you been supporting folks?
So what typically comes up just in a discussion, I will say when I work with my moms, I do realize that there are a lot of things that they have taken on subconsciously that they may not even be aware of. And it usually shows up in the form of defensiveness, because you know you're living in a world where you constantly have to defend yourself.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I will see that in my moms, and one thing I do to work with that is, which is it's really difficult. It's really difficult to work around it when you're in a world that constantly puts, you know, certain pressure on you or looks at you differently because of the color of your skin. But we dive in and focus on affirmations. That's definitely, I'm big on affirmations. Affirm into your life exactly what you desire to see. Manifest it, you know, manifest exactly what you desire to see for yourself and for your child. And not only affirmations, but just the focus on love, because when you realize that you are coming from a space of love, I feel like that's what you have to attract. When you constantly come from a space of love and you constantly, you know, bring that out into the world, that's what you're going to receive back. So I just do a lot of focus on food, affirmations, and love, to be completely honest. Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. HJ, you pretty much have a full house there. So what about you? What are some, and maybe if you can say this from a personal standpoint, even with, I mean, all three of you are service providers, so it's not just you, right? It's like what you see with, you know, folks that you're working with. What are some of the major emotional and mental challenges that you feel Black mothers are facing right
now? I mean, there's so many things. On a personal level, I was talking to my best friend the other day, and we were talking about having cabin fever. And I didn't even realize it until somebody said that. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling. I'm feeling my kids have lost their minds. They're from being in the house. And it can be overwhelming. I know spending this much time in the house with the kids, especially when you have as many as I do, it can take a toll on you mentally. Fortunately for me, I do my Zoom workouts during quarantine. I did Zoom workouts 4 days out of the week for an hour, and it was unbelievable how much they made a difference in not only my physical well-being, but my mental well-being, just being able to get those endorphins going and that adrenaline pumping, and it allowed me to have that space to myself. Fortunately for me, my husband is an amazing help with the kids, so I have a partner that helps. But taking that time away from the kids and the family for myself allows me to come back and be beneficial to my family. And it's something that I try to tell my clients and remind myself is, if you're not taking care of yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally, you can't possibly pour into your family. And during quarantine, we're in this confined space, and you're dealing with your partner and you're dealing with your children. And not only that, you're dealing with whatever you're going through, wanting to be out, wanting to socialize. For me, that was our biggest issue. We just want to be able to socialize with our friends and family. We don't even care about going to the mall and Disneyland and all that stuff. Like, it's really about just being able to have that human connection. And so Zoom calls really made a difference. I even had like a family reunion and spoke to family that I haven't spoken to in years. And just trying to make the best of the tools that you have. Tiffany's morning gratitude calls are reminders that there is so much for us to be grateful for, and not try to focus on all the negativity that's going on around us. As a mother of Black sons, everything that's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement and all the racial injustice that we're dealing with has been heavy on my mind. I have a 21-year-old son who's running the streets, and it's like, please stay home. Please just stay home. It's like, so it's I have to constantly remind myself to focus on the positivity. And I read something. I'm a talker, you guys, so I'm sorry if you gotta cut me off, Tiffany. It was like,
Just what the space is for. I got you.
So I read something the other day that was really impactful. It was so simple, but someone said that they had a conversation with a good friend, and he asked how she was doing, and she said, everything, my relationship, my business, my family is all doing so well. I'm waiting for something bad to happen. And they took a pause, and he had to remind her that if you live in faith and if you believe that you're deserving of all of his blessings, then you can't anticipate something bad happening. And it really hit home for me, because it's been a mind shift for myself in the last couple of years, where I've felt less worried about things and less stressed. And even with quarantine, my business being affected and financially being affected, I've really been able to practice being grounded in gratitude and my blessings, and knowing that I'll be taken care of because I am God's child. So I've had to really hone in on that feeling during quarantine, and not letting financial stresses or the stresses of everyone else outside and taking them on. And I think as Black women, we tend to we carry the burden of, whether it's our friends, our family, or even society, we carry it on our shoulders. And I've had to really just hone in on knowing that I'm blessed, and that everything will turn out okay, that my son will be covered, that my children are covered, so that my business will be covered. So yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, but
Well, I mean, yeah. So just even thinking about what are some of the emotional and mental challenges, right? It's the fear of survival of your children, right? I mean, it's not just boys, but it's girls too, right? I mean, you have a older daughter as well. It's the, how do I navigate what's going on in the house, because I have little ones, right?
Look, if you let me talk about it out loud, my daughter's getting ready to go to the military, and with all that's going on with our wonderful, president in office, and yeah, it's really, it can be heavy.
Yeah.
It can really be heavy.
Yeah, for sure. Marley, is there anything that you would want to add or address? What are some of your major emotional mental challenges, or what are you seeing for Black mothers right now?
I definitely agree with everything that has already been said. And I like to always mention the mental load, because as mothers and wives and partners, we always seem to carry a lot of the mental load about what should be where, when, for who, and when it should happen, and how we should remind who's about what, and what has to be out when, and what bill is coming in. You know, like all of those pieces that are there consistently. But in a time like this, where we have all of these extra emotions that we're trying to manage and deal with, we become the mediators of emotions. I know with my daughter, she's like, they keep saying we going back to school. I don't believe it. We're about to be like this for a minute. Like, and she'll be upset about it one minute, and then the next minute she'll be crying about it. And it's this emotional wave of having to help manage these children. And I don't have a, master's degree in psychology. I got a, BA. I can do a little bit, but I'm not, certified to help them. And I'm the go-to person. I'm the one who's seen it and managing it and trying to balance it and help keep the positivity and that faith going. And I'm so glad that HJ mentioned it, that you got to have this faith to lean on, because without the hope and the faith and the willingness to manifest and work in that way, you can feel very hopeless. You can feel very helpless. You can feel as if there is nothing that you can do and give over to that. And so having a lack of support, I'm recently divorced, so I'm getting used to being a single mom with 2 girls in the home. And what does that mean in turn, long distance situation? How do I navigate having the kids and needing the space for myself to be like, whoo, this is a lot. I'm having pregnant women and their issues that are happening in the hospitals now, that you can only have one birth support person. And then you have to choose between your mother, your partner, your doula, and who you want to have there. That's very frightening for us, when we're already knowing that our statistics are very high to die, number one, and then to be treated violently in the hospital, number 2. We're not even talking about being humanely treated or having respect, or how about feeling empowered when you come out of birth, bringing forth life? So trying to navigate that, I know myself, it's a lot to carry in different departments. And there's a lot of work that I have to do each and every day, or before I enter into the space with my children or with my clients or with my coworkers, even digitally, to make sure that I'm open and working on my healing enough so that I can engage with them in a healed way and not in a trauma way.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think that goes to just having the balance.
Yeah.
Being able to find that balance of how you deal with these different departments of life, and how you manage and work your way through it, and how you give yourself the space to heal and grow continually in each of those situations, being able to take that as something that's going to help you flourish into the best you can be. Wow. And it all goes back to that a love supreme, Milan. She said it had to come with love. John Coltrane said a love supreme. So if we're going to talk about what's the formula to get there and deal with it, we have to acknowledge what's going on. We have to say there is a resolution. What is that manifestation? What are those affirmations? What is the plan? What is the track that we're moving on? And then it's all about that pursuance, the daily movement towards the goal, daily movement towards the goal. There is never any end. There are always new sounds to imagine and new feelings to get at, right? That's all John Coltrane right there. And so following in those teachings and applying it to every department of our life is the only way that I know how to sustain. And it's all of those different things that were mentioned by HJ, having that commitment to be transparent and go through, with Milan saying you got to bring the love and you got to have that manifestation. It all has to do with it.
Goosebumps. Thank you so much, y'all, because, I know, and we're going to get into it in a question a little bit later, but I know I'm not a mother, but I can only imagine the heaviness that goes on. I am a clinician, so I have a very full caseload, and many of my clients are Black mothers, and so sitting and supporting folks in the grief, or even the anticipated grief around the possibility of something happening, I am so grateful to hear all three of you really just kind of intrinsically looping it to some mindfulness practice or something around positivity or love or music, or, you know, just kind of raising the frequency, because these experiences can be really, really heavy. For anyone that might want to share, maybe HJ, what are some things that you feel like mothers who have children under 5, I mean, I really say toddlers, but let's just say under 5, what do you think they can do to support in their children's health and overall well-being right now? You know, can't really do doctor visits. If you are, they're virtual, and then that's still just like, you know, so it's like, how are you helping to, or what recommendations would you give to help, you know, mothers support their children under 5, especially because, as some of you mentioned already, you know, the restlessness of the little bodies, right? What's going on right now. So it's also their mental health, like they don't have anywhere really to put their energy. So any kind of recommendations that you would have that you feel like have worked for you, or just ideas that you know work, you can provide any kind of recommendations or insight.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, as well as our boys are 11 and 8, and then the 2 adults. We don't care about them. And it has been, I mean, we've had the girls go from sleeping in their own rooms to now they full-fledged refuse to sleep in their beds past 3 a.m. And we haven't been able to connect really.
Realness, yeah.
But something that Marley mentioned, you know, her daughter having the ups and downs, and, you know, one minute they're like, we're going back to school, we're not going back to school. You know, a lot of the toddlers are probably the easier of the two to deal with. Our 11 and 8-year-old have probably had the biggest struggle with not seeing their friends and not being able to go. You know, our 8-year-old was like, I just want to go to see a movie in the movie theater. Like, it's that was something big that we did as a family. It was like a big thing. Like, we go see a movie every weekend. And now, even though we try to recreate it at home and sit and watch a movie and have popcorn and snacks and recreate that for them, it's like, all right, this is cool, but we're still stuck in the house. And I think with something that's really important as parents to realize, we actually have to take a pause and realize the other day, is that they're people too. Like, while we're dealing with our own issues that we're having around being in quarantine and the stresses that we're having, they have their own set of stressors. And listening and being patient has been something that we've, as partners, we've had to remind ourselves, like, I know we're frustrated. Imagine what they're feeling as well. They're antsy. They can't go to the park. Like, the girls are used to walking to the park and playing on the swings and getting their energy out, and having that energy bundled up is just, you know, everybody's just bumping heads. And so my biggest tip is, my husband goes to Target almost daily, and he comes home with something. I'm like, please stop bringing home stuff for them to play with. Like, but the flip of that is, it keeps them busy. Like, he comes, they've got a new doll, or I ordered these puzzles from China. They took forever to come, but then we found out they have them at Target, and they're like these cognitive learning puzzles where you take the picture, it shows the shapes of the little wood pieces, and they have to put them together. And my 3-year-old absolutely loves this thing, and it keeps her busy for a solid hour. There's nothing else that keeps her that busy. And she's learning, and she's using her thought process to use it, and it keeps her busy, and it keeps her out the way, and it keeps her from sitting in front of an iPad or the TV, which, look, no guilt. If that's what you got to do that too. But little things like that. My son has this other thing that's, you know, puzzle pieces that you have to put together. It's like figuring out how the ball goes through and blah, blah. But he loves it. And it's like things like that. If you have to spend $20 to go buy some extra toys at Target, do that, but try to keep them busy. The boys work on workbooks every day. So even though it's summertime, they're used to that. We do work all the time. We have flashcards. We keep them, reading a book and writing a book report. We try to keep them busy and active, to keep them out of our way, but also keep them learning and keep their minds going and not feeling so bored and stuck. So that's been really key, and to talk to them and communicate and, ask them how they're feeling. What are you feeling? And, what can we do? Make a list of things that you'd like to do that we can do in the house, or even take a walk with the dog just to get some fresh air. And I include them in my workouts if they want to do the workouts, and practicing yoga together and trying to find new ways to connect as a family. My 8-year-old likes to cook with me. We get these Hello Fresh boxes, and he gets to read the instructions and the ingredients, and it's something we get to do, and it's spend family time. We have to eat. Yeah. So we've gotten to use things that we do in our everyday life to build quality time and communicate and talk to each other, and nap, like little things that you don't tend to appreciate before quarantine. But now it's like, just sitting down and just being quiet, turning the TV off, taking a nap. Those things have all really been helpful to us as a family. And I want to say we've grown closer since quarantine because of those things. Being able to sit down and look, I haven't owned a puzzle, like a traditional 100-piece puzzle, since I was like 12. And we've ordered puzzles from Amazon, and we're sitting there, we're putting puzzles together. And I've grown to really enjoy doing that with the kids. So however you can figure it out, if you can spare the extra money, if you can't, oh my God, Tiffany, look, you guys, my 8-year-old turned 8 in May during quarantine, and we were bummed that we couldn't go anywhere. But we were watching this show called Minute to Win It, or something like that. And they literally have all these games that you get a minute to do, and you can use stuff around the house, pencils, plastic cups, and things like that. And we had a whole birthday party on stuff that I might have spent $20 on, and had so much fun. Like, if you guys have young kids, watch this show and do these things. They take 1 minute, and they're inexpensive. They're things like red cups and pencils and ping pong balls, and so much fun. So really, there's you be a little creative, finger paints, all the traditional stuff that we've gotten away from because we're so busy with life.
Yeah.
Those things have really brought us closer as a family and kept the kids busy and kept us sane. So.
Yeah. Love that. I mean, it's kind of like the stepping away from technology and just finding basic things to help the kids and even yourself to interact with, right? And it doesn't have to be things that are always expensive. So love that. So question about, Milan, this is more for you. What are some things that you would recommend that moms do for themselves and their little ones to keep healthy during this time, like physically healthy, like their immune system, just like, their body strength, to possibly decrease the risk of, them getting sick or having to go to the doctor or anything like that?
Okay, so I am definitely an advocate for holistic foods. So I'm not saying you gotta be vegan or anything like that, but the healthier you eat, the stronger your body's gonna be. So if you're eating organic and you're not putting these pesticides into your body's gonna look at a virus and kind of be like, yeah, like what are you? You're not even here. Mm-hmm. So I am an advocate for holistic foods. Also herbs. I'm gonna give y'all a herb that is amazing. It's called baobab powder. It comes from the baobab tree in Africa. Oh my gosh, yes, know that. Yes, oh my gosh. So baobab has, what is it? I believe it's 15 times more vitamin C than an orange.
Yep.
And you take a tablespoon of that a day. I mean, any of the moms who come in contact with me, I'm just like, make sure you're taking your baobab, make sure you're taking 1 tablespoon in the morning, take 1 tablespoon at night, especially if you're going outside or going anywhere. And children can also have baobab as well. So that's good. And typically, if you're a new mom and you're breastfeeding, the healthier you are, the healthier your baby's going to be, right?
And do you have any maybe specific foods or just like recommendations for any kind of supplements that you feel can be helpful for moms who might be breastfeeding or new mommies or even ones that just have toddlers? Like, what are some of the nutrients that you would say that they should pay attention to?
So if you're really looking for, immune building herbs, some supplements, elderberry is amazing. I love elderberry. Uh, Again, baobab. Like I'm just going to keep going back to that because it's amazing. What else? We have soursop. Okay, so the soursop leaf is really good. You're like, yes. So the sour.
Uncle, I'm not gonna do a plug, but I will if you want me to.
Go ahead. Go.
But I have an uncle. He splits his time between Chicago and Accra. And so he has tons of herbs that he grows and he sells them in the States. So he does soursop. So I always have soursop leaves, baobab, butterfly pea, moringa. Like there's these things that I have constantly, and they're a part of like my nutrient regimen. So I'm so happy to
absolutely. And soursop is really good too. So for anybody who's feeling anxious, because this time brings on a lot of anxiety, right? So anybody who's feeling anxious and just just tight, and they feel like they need to release, soursop is really good for calming you down. It calms the body down, but it also, the beautiful thing about it is that it's going to calm you down so it lessens the anxiety, but it also helps to boost your energy. Mm-hmm. And it's going to regenerate your red blood cell count. It's going to get rid of viruses. It's antibacterial. I mean, honestly, just look at the herbs that are normally grown in warm climates, and you're going to find healing agents there. You're going to find healing agents there. Okay. You even mentioned the butterfly pea leaf. Butterfly pea leaf is great. Now, I always tell my moms, if you have access to butterfly pea leaf, which I typically give it to them because I have access to it, like put it in a yoni steam. Do a yoni steam and keep your health and your immune system up by giving yourself a yoni steam once a week.
Now, share what that is if people may not know.
Yeah, so a yoni steam is when you take a bundle of herbs, different herbs, and you put them in a pot, you boil them, and you then pour the boiled water in a separate bowl, and you sit over top of the bowl, and you allow the steam and the oils that come from boiling the herbs to enter through your vagina, and it can help with vaginal dryness. It can help with your mood. It can help with your immune system. I remember last year I was in Thailand and I was catching a cold in Thailand when it was like really, really hot, but I was catching a cold, and I literally took a watermelon, some butterfly pea leaf, and soursop, sat over a pot doing a yoni steam, and it was going like that. Wow. So yoni steams are essential, I believe, essential for pertinent womb health and just keeping your immune system good and keeping your immune system well. I would also recommend being active, just like HJ was saying, like, she feels amazing while she's doing her workouts. And it's just like, it gets your endorphins going. It gets your serotonin levels raised up. So working out, yoga is definitely good. And you plugging your uncle.
Listen, he got the stuff here. It's
Look at here. Like, oh, okay.
Here. Now, if you have any companies that you get your stuff from, please drop it in. Please drop it in. Do you sell herbs for the yoni steams?
I don't. Well, coming soon in like a month.
Okay, so if you have any, again, if you have any resources or anything that you could drop in, just like go ahead and drop into it. Oh, okay, I didn't realize. Yeah, that was too. Okay. What about any of the mommies? Are there any other practices that you're doing or anything that you're giving your little ones to make sure that their systems are strong, anything like that?
I have no little ones. No. Like,
Oh,
so.
no, I know. Yeah, that's I said for them if they want to add because they have younger kids too.
Actually,
I think that the routine is a big deal for me, having a schedule to help keep them going to bed and waking up at particular times. A lot of times we're home and we say, oh, we're home, and we stay up late and we hang out and we, take it as time. Like, oh, we're hanging out together. Next thing you know, your kids aren't going to sleep till midnight and wanting to sleep till 1, and this whole schedule can be off. And that can really affect your immunity if you're not getting good sleep. So I really like to make sure that I've been a schedule person, since they're babies. I find out what their little schedule is and we just stick to it and kind of get into a rhythm. And it also gives them a confidence and a dependability in terms of mental health, knowing that, we're going to have breakfast at around this time. I know by 10 o'clock, I know we're going to eat. I know in the afternoon, mom's going to ask me to read a book or do some chores or have some specific times so that they can count on something being consistent.
Yeah.
That helps a lot as we're going through these emotional roller coasters. We know still, no matter what, every Friday night, we're going to have movie night. Like that's something I can count on. We're going to have movie night every Friday. We're going to have game night on Saturday. That's something to look forward to. You're going to do your chores on Saturday morning. That's something to look forward to too. My kids are a little bit older, so they're learning how to cook. So Monday, we know who's cooking. It's not me. Tuesday, we know who's cooking and who's cleaning. And it keeps this rhythm. I know I cook on Wednesdays and the weekends. And the rest of the time, hey, y'all switching off and we're all contributing. And I think that helps to build confidence as well. We like to do a lot of things for our children. I notice as the generations have continued, a lot of the responsibilities that we have as children have been taken off because it's like, oh, they should be kids and they should have this time. But then I want to remember that we're raising adults. We're not raising children. We're raising people who are going to be able to take care of themselves. And even during this time, they're learning so much about what it means to be human and what it means to navigate an ever-changing world and face the challenges of their time. Yeah. And so that's not anything that's going to change. It was the same way for our ancestors who had to deal with their challenges were. We had our challenges as youth, and now it's going to be a continual thing. Hopefully those challenges will not be as adverse childhood experiences, but there are always going to be some challenge that we face in growing and learning how to be on the planet. So I think keeping the schedule, and part of my schedule is vitamins and supplements are normal.
Do you have any vitamins or supplements that you're used to integrating into the kids' lives?
Well, I keep them on just a regular gummy vegetarian multivitamin with vitamin D. They take that every day. My younger daughter sometimes have gut issues, so I keep her on an acidophilus type, probiotic. I like to give them probiotics. And then if I catch a hint of anything, a little, they're taking a shot, and I literally mean a shot glass with some orange juice, some vitamin C tincture, vitamin B+. It has echinacea, golden seal, and that's our concoction.
Okay. Do you make?
And they've been taking that since it's little. Yeah, I just get the little tinctures. Okay. So echinacea, a golden seal, a vitamin B complex, and a vitamin C in a shot of orange juice.
Okay, wonderful. Feel free to drop that. Feel free, ladies, if you could drop any of your recommendations in the comments, because I know folks are going to want to get back to the information. And Marley, you actually made a statement that segues into definitely like our last set of questions. So how are you as a Black woman and mother navigating the emotional trauma right now? I know it just got heavy, right?
I'll speak on that because I've been a very transparent parent intentionally. I speak truth to them from the beginning. It's a part of my religion, love and truth. Those two things together, I think, can bring a lot. And so my daughter was 2 years old. My youngest was 2 years old when Trayvon Martin was killed. She knew that Trayvon Martin was killed. It wasn't something that we kept secret or tried to protect her from, but it was something that I felt like needed to be explained, and not just said this is something that happened, but within a historical context. And having the benefit of being a homeschool teacher to my eldest at that time, I was able to give them the perspective of long before we made it to this part of the world, to start back in ancient Kemet and talk about the Nubians and, you know, all of that and all the greatness that there was and all the teaching that we gave to the world, so that they can have an understanding of their value beyond someone may want to kill me because of the color of my skin. I thought it was very important for them to have a background to stand on, because if you only get that first, it can make you feel like that is your value, to just be looked upon with disgust and shame and want to be taken off this planet. So in dealing with the emotional stress, I think for me it was a lot heavier before, and right now they're kind of like, man, we've been woke. What y'all doing? Come on. We know we've been getting killed. We've been in these streets. We've been marching since we was 2 years old, you know? And so they're not as traumatized now in terms of what's happening in the world, because they see the history of it. They know about Emmett Till. So they know the historical context and can stand on it and say that we have been demanding justice for a long time, and we will continue to do it. It's almost a part of our birthright.
Yeah.
And in doing that, there is a sense of a holy mandate, you know, to stand in your authentic self, to speak truth to power. So when you're at school and someone says something, oh, you know, I think we should just all put our hoodies on. And my young one can tell her second, third grade class, like, that might be safe for you, but let me school you on how people get killed with a bag of Skittles and a hoodie on. And I'm getting calls from the teacher like, oh, we need to talk about, you know, what's going on in school. But there's some understanding behind it and not this fear, you know. And the reason that I wear this war paint initially, it was because, hey, if I get killed in the street, I want them to look at my face and be like, what? Who they done took out? Like, what is happening? Is this an African woman, or is this just some, you know, hood chick? Who is she? And have to question and see that history and connect the dots on why I would even be on this continent looking like this, you know? And so that empowerment to say, I wish I would roll up on me with some stuff, instead of being like, hey, there's a fear of it happening.
Yeah.
And that doesn't take away from the emotional turmoil, because my youngest heard, I think we listened to Farrakhan speak on 4th of July. And he said something about it being 3/5 of human. And I didn't know I was doing other things. And I come in and my baby's looking sad. I said, what's going on? And she was like, I just can't believe that they really considered us 3/5 human. How could that even be? And the tenderness behind her. Like, I love people, all of humanity, every hue of humanity, she has great love for. And the fact that that could be the classification still touched her, you know, knowing the history. And we had to just sit and talk about that. What does it mean? And be able to process it and not have any judgment or any shame or any agenda to put into her mind, but to allow her to feel it. And I'm a jokester, and, you know, we got the ancestry DNA. So I was like, well, hey, now, you know, you 4/5 African now. So maybe that's the human side, you know, like I just had to take it all the way there in order to bring her out, because she loves comedy. So also meeting them where they're at and giving them tools. But I think it's truly about having that space of love, bringing forth the truth, and giving them a confidence to stand on that goes beyond the current time frame and what we are suffering with.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really beautiful. And I mean, there's definitely a lot of teaching opportunities right now. HJ or Milan, you could speak to this. What about for you? What are you personally doing to navigate what might be coming up for you emotionally during this time?
I'm sorry, the kids just pulled up right next to me. um, what am I doing for myself to navigate? I kind of hinted on that earlier, like the other girls were saying. For me, it's staying active and communicating. Quarantine during this time, like I said, we're newlyweds. Even though we've been together for 6 years, marriage changes things, I think, from a mental level. And being in quarantine right after getting married was like we were on this roller coaster of excited high emotions, and then came down really quickly, like on, after the roller coaster gets up there, you're like, whoa, and then come down. Whoa. I was like, wait a minute. We spending too much time together. We've had to learn how to communicate better. It's like we've been forced, because we're home all day, every day, to talk about what we're feeling and how we can address things so that we're not arguing, and it's not a combative communication. It's more of a, what's a resolution? How do we make this better? And not only with each other, but with the children, we've learned how to communicate better. And me staying active and getting out and getting some fresh air. Fortunately for me, I live right by the ocean, and I'm a Pisces, and I'm connected to the water, so I can smell it and I can feel it and I can hear it. And that is how I find my healthy mental space, is to bring myself back to my Zen. Being connected to the ocean is a whole nother conversation. And
Marley feels you on that.
Really acknowledging, Marley said, it wasn't Marley, I think it was one of them said something about acknowledgement. And I think that's important. Far too often we have this conversation get deep, we're okay, I'm fine, but really acknowledging what we're feeling and owning it and being okay with it, being okay with not being okay, and being able to have a best friend that I can call and say absolutely anything to, and just being able to vent and say, I'm not feeling okay today, and this is what I'm feeling. And having someone just listen, not even just necessarily trying to fix it for me, but giving me space to communicate is important. Having a partner that listens and allows me to feel whatever it is I'm feeling is important. So yeah, those have been my top things, have been exercising, taking a walk to the ocean, and just talking. Literally just talking has been what's kept me sane during this time. And I will come out of this situation stronger because of it, which I'm super, super, super grateful for.
Wow. Ooh, can we all just take a couple of deep breaths with that? I just want to really say that I appreciate just how naturally, even without asking, in some ways, how you just offer solutions, all of you. Like it is, I think that's a testament to not only do you walk through this world supporting others, but you have really, to an extent, mastered how to take care of yourself. There's some people who can be service providers and tell people all these empowering things, and they don't know how to take care of themselves. You know what I mean? And everybody on their own journey. I'm not trying to judge them or nothing. However, I'm so grateful. Like, you are the right people that we had on for this discussion, because you walk the things that you share with clients, and you can tell you walk, even if you don't actively have clients right now, you walk the things you share with your platforms and tell people, and you can just really tell. And I just really just want to acknowledge, like, your authenticity, and I just have goosebumps right now, because y'all are just hella dope and hella like high vibrating. And I just think that it's beautiful, and you are embodiment of what it means to be a Black revolutionary. You really, really are, because you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your children, and in turn, you're taking care of your community, you know. And so I just want to thank you so, so much for that. I wish that I could like hug y'all, because y'all are so amazing. I would do that in my life right now. So I do want to open up the space for questions. So if anybody has any questions, definitely want to give you opportunities to put them in the Q&A. I think we do have some questions that have come in regards to managing mental health in the community. Where did it go? I did just see a question. Yes. I know I just saw it. Scroll it up for me. I'm on a Mac. I don't know how to use a Mac, y'all. Oh, excuse me for a moment. There we go. Okay. So question that Yuli posed: how are we addressing mental health in our community? Being in the East Bay area, we are fortunate to have parks, but are our communities able to access them for mental health? Does anyone have anything that they want to offer around that? I know a couple of you have spoke to being outside and how that has helped you. Any just additional insight that you want to offer?
I want to get in on this beach talk and the water, because I'm in San Francisco and literally I've been having to go to the beach every week, rain, cold or not, just to take that space to get away and unplug, because most of the phones, you're not pulling that out in the sand. You really just have to unplug. And I bring my speaker, or I bring an instrument, and I sit by the water and I just play, or I just write, or I just color, and take that time out of the house, because that cabin fever is real. So trying to change up the scenery and the space. And I know we're privileged to be California Bay Area people, and, you know, people along the coast. And we have a lot of parks that are open for us to do trails and do particular outdoor things that are very helpful. But even, this is something I want to say for the moms, especially with kids under 3. I must have been quarantining for a long time, because I didn't really go a lot of places, and I didn't go see a lot of people, and it was just me and my kids homeschooling and, you know, trying to go to our little farmer's market and be little cluster family and teach the teachings that I want them to have. But we used to do neighborhood adventures, and that meant just taking the little people out and having a treasure hunt or a scavenger, you know, like, what do you see? How many different color flowers? And let's name them. I'm big on teaching. So using that as a time, like, how many blocks is it from here to the corner store? You know, and can we take a different way to get back? So they're learning about their neighborhood. They're being engaged with the elements. And my daughter used to make up songs when we would walk, and she'd just be skipping and being creative and making up songs. And her little sister would be so excited to try to run and race to the end of the block. So those kind of simple things that don't require any cash money, it just requires some time.
Yeah.
And I think that presence in that time is really big. Especially now where we're forced to be together, but we may not be present.
Yeah.
We may not actually be together, unifying and bonding and creating those moments together. We may just be in the same space.
Yeah.
And so changing up the scenery and having the freedom to explore and see things from their eyes, because when you get down low, when you under 2 feet, under 3 feet, it's a whole different world down there, you know? They're seeing little lizards crawling and stuff you're not even tripping off of with your head in the clouds.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great thing to do. And just really incorporating your everyday activities into moments of joy.
Yeah. Yes.
And bringing them into it, you know, bringing that confidence in, whether it's cooking or planning the meal for the day or cleaning up the room, being a teacher, a guide, and a friend all in one. And having that presence.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I just want to say something to Marley. Like, I love that you guys went on neighborhood adventures. Like, you know, what is this? What color is that? That is what children under 3 need. I have so many women who are just like, well, I'm going to do this for my child because I need them to read by this age, or I need them to do that, and I need them to do this. And it's just like, just interact with your child. The more interaction, the brightest children, the brightest beings have interaction. You know, and they have interaction, and just talk to them like they're humans.
Yep.
Talk to them like, I mean, you can do little baby talk too, but talk to them like they're actual humans, because they are actual people.
So true, Milan. Thank you for saying that. It's so
I gotta jump in here. I got a couple of things. To Marley was saying something about this was back. I gotta rewind because I wanted to jump in on what she said about giving the kids chores and how we've changed so much over the years. People have taken chores away from their kids, and schedules. She also said something about schedules. So I am a stickler for schedules as well, and I believe schedules and routine help are very, very beneficial to not only the adults but the children as well. Something during quarantine that I had over the first couple of weeks of quarantine, probably after the first month of quarantine, I had to give myself permission to let go of the schedule sometimes. Sometimes the kids needed to let go of the schedule and be okay with that, and be okay with going with the flow, but still having our loose, like they do movie time with Pops on Friday, and they expect that every Friday, and they know they got to get up and do their work at this time, and we have a lunch schedule, and we try to keep it as much to what their school schedule is as possible. But there were some days where it's like, okay, we might go for a drive during nap time, and you know, it couldn't be, you know, my husband was like, but it's nap time and we can't leave and they've got to sleep, and it's like, just go with the flow. And so there's got to be a balance. My business is called Eudaimonia Health and Fitness, and Eudaimonia, the loose definition of is balance between health, happiness, and prosperity. And I truly believe that everything in life is about balance. And it's not always going to be, you know, 50-50, even if some areas of your life are going to require more of you than other areas. And you've got to find balance between eating healthy foods and being on a healthy diet, versus sometimes you just need a piece of cake just to make you feel happy. Like, everything is about a healthy balance. And so we had to find that right balance of structure and going with the flow. And then the other thing I wanted was the chores. Like, all of our kids have chores. We have 2-year-old appropriate chores. I've got 11-year-old appropriate chores. And then when my 24-year-old moved back home, it was like, okay, cool, let me put you on the schedule for cleaning the bathroom. You got your chores too. So, but that allows us to have clear expectations of everybody in the house, and then hold you accountable when you don't do these things. Yeah. And then lastly, to what Milan was just saying, my husband, when he came into quarantine, he was like, so they're going to be able to write their names by the time we're done, and they're going to be able to do this. I'm going to get up, and I'm going to put the alphabet chart on the wall and the multiplication and the division. So each kid obviously has their different expectation. And with the little one, it's more so with the little ones is because we ended up bumping heads at one point, and it was like, and you're not helping me do this, this, and this. And I said, but you're not acknowledging what I am doing, which is going for a walk and saying, oh, look at those trees, they're green, and doing this, and using life as a means for teaching the little ones and giving them credit for how much they absorb through just living life. And that can be good and bad. They absorb when you're not communicating, when there's tension in the house, learning how to speak to each other, learning how to share. All these things have been life lessons that are very, very valuable, that if you don't have the structure as parents, as mothers, don't beat yourself up if you're not like, at 8 o'clock, we're gonna do this. Because I definitely had a friend, and I beat myself up for a second. She's like, oh, my kids, they log in to their class, their Google Classroom at 8 o'clock, and they do this, this, and this until 3 o'clock. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Am I a bad mom? Stop that. Stop that mess. Like, no, we went for a walk and we saw the birds, and I bought a hummingbird. So I bought a $15 hummingbird feeder on Amazon, took it back because I found it at the 99-cent store.
Yes.
When 99-cent store and hung a humming. I have a love for hummingbirds. I've never had a hummingbird feeder. We have one sitting up on our patio now, and we come out during the day and we watch the hummingbirds. And it's one of our best experiences. 99 cents, y'all. Let me tell you about this life lesson. So you go ahead and talk about these life lessons that you teach your kids. It doesn't matter if you don't pull out the flashcards. Sometimes it could be as simple as, let's tie your shoe. Let's share. Let's sit and have a tea party and share with each other. And girl, find out how you're gonna teach your kids without stressing about it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I do want to speak to the question about the mental health piece. So professionally, I am a mental health professional. And traditionally, outside of COVID, I do something called ecotherapy, which is typically I do sessions outside with clients because I'm a very mindfulness centered clinician. And so there's so much value that being outside does have. And I would say that if you are wanting to spend time outside, for yourself or for, your children, just be mindful of the amount of people that's in the space, right? So if you can find more parks or areas that don't have as many people, that would be helpful. I mean, it's kind of challenging in California now because as Marley mentioned, we are a very outdoorsy kind of people here. And so all the people that weren't outdoorsy who would spend time in gyms and stuff, now they outdoorsy and they like discovering things, so it definitely can provide some challenge, but I think it's possible. Definitely what people are doing on a community level in terms of the Bay Area, I'm not quite sure because I'm based in LA, but I mean, I know that I have seen things where people are doing like social distancing type of activities in parks and things of that nature. So they may have like 5 or 6 people, but they might be, still 6 feet distant apart and having some type of like gathering and things like that, and may still have like their mask on. So that's definitely possibly, something that you can do. I've known people who are mommies, who are mommies, and they have actually done some type of these events where they're just gathering with mommies in parks, but they're again spending time, social distancing, but doing something together as to still create some type of space for mommies and even stuff with kids. So, of course, you just want to be mindful of the numbers and the activities and things of that nature, but I definitely think it is possible. Wonderful.
Another tip, if I can add, a tip is pretty basic. In Facebook, they have different mom groups, like local to your area. I'm part of one, South Bay area moms of South Bay, something like that. But I've even found something like that so simple to be so beneficial. We were having issue with one of our kids and it's a rash or something, and they're like, "Hey, have you seen this kind of rash? You take a picture of it, you post it." Or my daughter's doing this, or my 3-year-old won't stay her butt in her bed. Do you have any tips? Like, I found something like that, just a support group of women, of moms who aren't judging each other, but offering suggestions just like this, but on a regular or day-to-day basis. It can be so simple. So if you can find a local one in your area, and then once things are back to normal, you guys can get together and do mommy stuff.
And that's perfect. That was actually in our last 15 minutes, we like to do resource checking and sharing. And so I first want to ask you ladies, are there any platforms, websites, pages on social media, anything, community groups that you would recommend? I think I saw Milan post something like a Facebook group.
Mom's Connection.
Okay.
It's really good for the issues that Black moms are facing, because when you go into any other group, they can't necessarily help you with what you need as a Black person or a Black being. So Black Moms Connection is really good. My best friend was just in that group, and she's like, "Yay! Now I know what to put on my baby for sunblock. Like not actual sunblock, but I can use like some zinc oil, you know."
Right,
Like,
right, right. Yeah.
so, and I'll write the rest down. There's an IG blogger, Mamas in Color. She I mean, she's on IG, but she also has really good blogs. I wrote this down. The Cool Mom Co. She's good. She has like nice recipes for you. It's by a young woman named Lizzie Mathis. She has good recipes. She just has stories. You know, she's real. You know, you like people who are real, not just, you know, about the show. Like, look at my perfect baby. It's like, no, look,
Right.
like, you know, look at us and
Right.
all of our glory. And it's glorious. So it's just like, you know, it's real.
Yeah, yeah, wonderful. Yeah, any of those websites or platforms, please feel free to type them in. Marley, are there any platforms, any doulas, healers, any mommies that you like following for information or empowerment that you think would be beneficial to any of our attendees?
Look, somebody put Sacred Birth Doula. I love her.
Love her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's the top of my list. I love her. I also like following midwives themselves. Sophia Monroe, she puts a lot of good information and a lot of good recipes for postpartum. She'll talk about herbs and different things you can use. Yes. In the tradition of the granny midwives coming straight through. So yeah, that kind of thing. But I also want to encourage some of those, you know, older systematic things that are there, because I know I had a lot of issues with breastfeeding, and La Leche League came through for me. Like, that was the group, and they have been around for a long time, and they do a lot of support. And depending on where you are, the composition of the group can look like you know. So that's the support you need. You might have to look a little bit deeper, but they have great people in there who are very wise and have a lot of information that they can pass down as well. And there's a lot of resources that are needed right now, because it's one thing to find community and, you know, to be able to bounce ideas off one another, but I don't know the specific programs across the country, but I know here in San Francisco, we have a program called Homeless Prenatal Program, and it helps with mothers up to 5, or it might even be older than that, but I know it's not just like prenatal pregnant moms that it helps. And so you're able to get resources, food, clothes, diapers, formula, those kind of things there. So I really want to encourage people to look for those kind of resources that you can find in your area, because a lot of times we need those physical things as well.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, wonderful. HJ, what about you? Are there any platforms that you like paying attention to? Any other fit moms? Anyone, you know, anything that you feel like gives you encouragement as a mom?
I follow a couple of pages. I couldn't, off the top of my head, I apologize that I couldn't tell you what they are. Black Moms Blog has one. And then the group on South Bay for South Bay Moms, which is a local group to the South Bay Torrance area. And I'm just open to, I'm just going to go follow all the pages that everybody posted. But, you know, I've been a mom for 24 years now, which sounds really crazy when you say it out loud. So, but I will say, look, let me get my thoughts together. My children are, my pregnancies have been high risk pregnancies. So I didn't get to enjoy some of the things that I see have become more popular in the media mainstream now, like home births and water births and having a doula. I know those have been around for centuries, but crazy enough, it's not even something I was really familiar with after having 6 kids, and probably not until the last 2 that it became something that I was more aware of. I'm tempted to maybe do it again just so I can have a different experience, but I might call, hey, Milan, I might call you one day, and since you're in LA, and give myself another experience for number 7. But I think events like this are amazing to make women more aware of some of the resources that are out there. And even despite having 6 kids, like Marley said, I struggled with breastfeeding with my 6th kid, which was a completely new experience for me. And I didn't really know where to turn to except for YouTube. And my husband was actually the one who figured out what the problem was.
Mm.
My OBGYN, my pediatrician, nobody could help me figure out what was going on. And I suffered by myself for 10 weeks. It was horrible. I had mastitis 4 times. I was ready to give up. And I wish I had more resources to turn to. So I appreciate that Black women and mothers are creating platforms to support and offer information. And don't be scared to ask questions or be ashamed. I think there's so much shame that's involved in parenting and being a woman and being a mom that sometimes the questions that we have don't get asked. So providing a safe space for women to speak openly and transparently, again, another reason why I try to be really transparent about my life, because I know somebody out there needs to know that they're not the only ones having a baby cry 24 hours a day trying to breastfeed. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I wish I had more information to offer other than my own personal story.
Great. I mean, and you post a lot on your IG stories and, you know, on your regular feed anyhow around different parenting topics, which I think is great. So you are a resource. What you mean?
Oh, and then I was the Chronicles of Daddy, because, you know, we with everything that's been talked about lately, I don't think Black fathers get enough appreciation. And I am proud to say that I am married to one of the best Black fathers I've probably ever encountered in my life. And he is releasing his website and his blog to bring about a perspective from the father's perspective, and I think that's really, really important as well. Not only for men to hear, but for women to understand and relate to what their experience is. So his Chronicles of Daddy, yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, ladies, so much for joining. You know, if you shared any resources, please drop them in the comments. If you're looking for resources, just make sure you go through the comments, because the panelists have dropped their resources. If you just have any resources yourself that you want to share as an attendee, you can feel free to drop them in. I think something that is so important to just know is the importance of community. You know, we talked about that today, the importance of finding people who will listen to you and support you, whether that's friends, whether that's finding, you know, these Facebook groups, or finding, you know, there's also meetup.com, even though people may not necessarily be doing physical meetups, you know, people might be doing Zoom-based meetups, right? So you can always do that. Eventbrite, which is the event website, you can literally search on there for like all the virtual events that are going on right now, right? So we're doing something like this, but there are tons of events nowadays that are going on every week, and you could probably literally just search in Eventbrite and put like moms in, or like moms of color, or Black moms, or something like that, and people use keywords and stuff like that. So I would definitely recommend attending more virtual events, joining you know, Facebook groups as mentioned, following some influencers. And it's great because once you start following one person on IG will recommend similar pages, and you can just start clicking follow. I mean, I don't have children. However, I follow like a lot of doulas because I have a best friend that is one. And then I have had clients going through their birth journeys, and I like to give them alternative, you know, resources and things of that nature. So there's tons of stuff out there. As AJ mentioned, YouTube, you know, you got vloggers out there, right? So you could definitely look at YouTube videos. So again, I just want to say thank you so much. I think another great key takeaway is learning what works for you when it comes to taking care of yourself in the midst of all the duties. What works for one person may not work for another person, but just trying to find whatever little space that you can for yourself is so important. And trust the babies, trust the kids. They are intuitive and they know more than you think. And you know, there's a management, but you don't have to control them as much as you think that you may, you know, and so they're also responding to your stress, right? And I think that these ladies all really were great at expressing how to use nature and grounding and mindfulness practices to maneuver things that are going on. Ladies, I want you to please drop your websites into the comments. So if folks want to you know, subscribe to you, drop your IG handles or Twitter or any social media again. Yeah, okay. Just a couple of things. So we, like I said, Coco, we're doing virtual events. And so next month we're going to have a politically centered event in honor of the March on Washington, and which is going to be August 28th. And we're going to do something probably the week before, just talking about general political landscape right now. What are some things for you to be mindful of? So look out for that. We also are going to, we've had amazing fundraising efforts this year, and we're launching, this is our first year, we're launching our scholarship fund. And so we're going to be sending out information for that. We're giving away 3 scholarships for current college women. Okay, so they're not for high schoolers, but they're for people that are currently in college. So if you are subscribed to our newsletter, you'll get information about that. If not, you can go to cococoalition.org. You can always you know, give to us some love. We are a nonprofit, so you can go on our website. There's different ways to give. If you are an avid Amazon shopper, we are on Amazon Smile, which allows you to automatically give to nonprofit. We have monthly stuff set up, so we have tons of ways. We're on Facebook now as a nonprofit, so if you're like, oh, I want to fundraise for something for my birthday, or you know how people be doing, you can go ahead, type in Coco Coalition, like that works out, you know. But we're just so grateful, and if you have any feedback, please send it to us. If you have any desire for any type of virtual events, let us know. You know, we really want to center our stuff around what our community wants, and we just are so thankful to have you all. Hope that you have a wonderful safe weekend, and we're just thankful that you tapped in. Any last words, ladies?
I love sharing the space with all of y'all. So I'm grateful. I'm glad to have met all of you. And I just want to say, you know, to anybody and everybody out there watching, just make sure that you talk everything out, like HJ said, and Marley, you know, how they go to the ocean and they just speak. So just make sure you're getting everything out, and check in with yourself. You know, make sure that you check in with yourself. And before you unload anything on anybody else, check in with them to make sure that they can actually take it on.
That's great. That's great. Any last words, Marley?
I just want to say I'm grateful for being here. I feel like this was a divine time and divine coming together for us to be in sync and to be of one mind. And I want to encourage everyone to just take it 1 minute at a time. 1 minute at a time. Stay present.
Thank you. HJ, any last words?
Beautiful. Man, they just dropped some real nuggets right there. She said, check in with the people you check in first. Love it. People dumping their stuff on you.
Wonderful. Well, thank y'all ladies so much. Oh, I do actually have one plug. I just realized this. So I have tons of journals and books You can go to my website. I'll drop it. TiffanyWrightMSW.com. I just published a mindfulness journal. If you're in therapy, I have a therapy journal available. I have a gratitude journal available. I have a self-love reflection journal available. I have 2 books on self-love, and I have some identity development and exploration workbooks. So if you do have time for some self stuff, I got that. I got that for you. I got that stuff for you. Okay.
I
Again,
love it. Everybody, I got to plug just in case anybody missed it. I'm still doing my Zoom workouts, even though I am back in the gym for one-on-one training. But our Zoom workouts have been amazing. They're Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at 10 a.m. I actually did yoga and a workout right before this call, and it was a great way to start my Saturday. And then this added to it. It was an amazing day. So you can go to my Instagram or go to my website if you are interested in joining the Zoom workouts. They're virtual, and you need very little equipment, maybe a set of dumbbells and some resistance bands, because exercise is a part of staying healthy. It goes in alignment with everything else.
Bam. And my life coach, she just dropped her information right there. So if you're looking for a life coach, she in there. I'm not taking clients right now, so I can't help none of y'all like that. But I have tons of resources around therapy directory. So if you do have any questions, you can also email me. Thank you so much, panelists. If you could stay on the Zoom as attendees. Bye now. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Love y'all. Bye. Bye.